And we're back on the Capitolist. Kevin, again, thanks for joining me. And just want to sort of run down the state of the race right now. It's a little bit early. We've got a month to go. I think in 2010, there were only two candidates basically running at this point. Of course, the race changed dramatically later on in 2010. But in 2009, it was Alex Sink and it was Bill McCollum. They were running neck and neck. And the amounts of money they had in their bank was kind of paltry compared to some of the sums that maybe an Adam Putnam has raised, or even Jack Latvala, he has several $1 million in the bank. I think Gwen Graham has millions of dollars. You've got Phil Levine with millions. I don't know where Mayor Gillum is, but I know he's raising money, and he's still doing a decent job. You say he's up in the polls. Tell me how much different this 2018 cycle is compared to 2010 in your memory or in your view.
I think it's wide open right now on both sides, and I know that Adam Putnam is certainly leading the money race among everyone, but you do have candidates on the Republican side that I believe will be viable candidates. And on the Democratic side especially, you have to remember that we're not talking about 7 million votes, 8 million, 9 million votes. We're talking about a little bit over 1 million votes that the Democratic candidate needs to get to secure the nomination. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so confident in Andrew's path and Mayor Gillum's path, because he's out there speaking with those voters and has been for many, many years and has always been aligned on the right side of history, the progressive side, and that's what Democrats are looking for on their side.
Now, how do you, like 2010, there was a heavy focus on television because Rick Scott was in the race and he was blowing, $50 million, $60 million, $70 million on television. But Facebook has become much more powerful. Some of this social media has become much more powerful and economical. And does that change things in 2018 compared to how it was back in 2010 when it was still
no question. I mean, we spend, my firm specifically, we spend seven figures every year on social media and then Google, YouTube platforms. It's vital to do that, especially in expensive media markets in Miami. Some of our own internal studies have shown that we're about 11 to 12% more efficient on those types of advertisements than we are putting money on TV. TV's still important. There are people you can't reach without getting to TV, but those platforms are becoming more and more important. But not only the platforms, but it's just the way that you use it and your authenticity. It's not 2010 where Rick Scott can throw up an ad about ground zero mosques and Arizona immigration laws, which have nothing to do with the political climate, and really get away with it in an authentic way.
Well, first of all,
not that I'm bitter at all.
You and I don't have to be bitter. It's okay. We just do what works. That's what we did in 2010, and that's what if I was in the race, of course, this time around, I'm not. But we'd find other ways to
things that you did in 2010 and 2014 have certainly led to Donald Trump, so thank you for that.
I do not take any of that credit. I was not involved in 2014, and certainly not the Trump race. But with Andrew Gillum in the race, and he's competing, how do you see him stacking up against, say, a Phil Levine?
I'm confident. I mean, I think what Mayor Gillum has shown is that he's in this for the right reasons. There's a story that Philip Levine tells on the campaign trail of how he got his inspiration to run for office, and it had to do with him speaking to a crowd and loving the applause, which I don't know is the best story to be telling for a candidate.
So it's just a pure ego feed.
You said that.
Well,
and he's a nice enough guy, but what Mayor Gillum brings is the authenticity of being the first to overcome challenge after challenge. And I think more Floridians, and especially Democrats, will relate to his story than the other candidates in the race. He's the only non-millionaire, and I know people don't like us saying that, but he's a working class and comes from a humble background. And that leads to, in my opinion, great leadership that he's shown not only in the mayor's office with his solar initiatives, working on crime, and making sure that we're progressive and equal rights for everyone. I think that will reflect well in the campaign as he secures the nomination.
Now, he's from the same exact area as another candidate, which I like to refer to as Bob Graham's daughter. I know
that's Congresswoman Graham.
I know, of course she is. And again, my reasons for that are just because I feel like, and since she's technically an opponent of yours, and I know you need to be respectful, but the knock on her, in my view, is what's her resume? She doesn't really have a real resume. Okay, she's been to Congress, but she was in Congress because she's Bob Graham's daughter. I feel like, yeah, she's got a law degree, okay, but you compare her to say, Alex Sink, who had a significantly...
Alex Sink was arguably one of the most qualified candidates that Florida has ever seen.
She was very well qualified, and it wasn't like she was accomplished before politics, and I just feel like maybe Bob Graham's daughter is not the same in
Well,
that
she
regard.
does have Congresswoman Graham does have a record, and we've pointed it out to the chagrin of some folks. I mean, Keystone is a key vote that we're looking at among Democrats. I mean, I looked at it when she was my congresswoman, and she's a neighbor, a very nice woman, always gives out great Halloween candy to my kids.
You're such a diplomat.
But there are votes like Keystone that really haunt Democrats and say, why on earth did you side with Republicans? And we've seen, the recent oil spill kind of play out there. We knew that was going to be bad. Why did you side with Republicans? And, she was running on the, quote, North Florida way. I don't know that that plays well in other areas, which Mayor Gillum was actually born in Miami area and lived in Gainesville as well. He's got a statewide appeal. So again, we're looking at this, and don't forget Chris King. I mean, I
already forgot. Sorry, I already forgot Chris King.
Chris King, which I call the Tim Tebow of Florida politics, because it's hard not to like him. He performed.
It's better than the Tosh 2.0 of Florida politics.
During the Associated Press event, where reporters asked some pretty tough questions, I thought, and there were some bizarre antics that day, but I think that Chris King performed exceptional, and I'm actually excited that he's running for office and excited that he's in this race, because he brings something that you don't really see, and he's from Orlando, and I think he's a great candidate. I certainly don't think he has a great chance of winning this nomination, but he has a very bright future. I've been very impressed with him.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a very spirited contest, and I'm looking forward to it. 2018 is literally just around the corner. We've got a month to go, and I think with the four candidates that we have right now in the race, John Morgan sort of is a stalking